today's chemistry session. Today we will have the topic mixtures and pure substances. In the macroscopic level or in the bulk level, matter can be classified as mixtures and pure substances. So here you have the diagram showing the classification of matter. Matter is broadly classified as pure substances and mixtures. Then, pure substance is further subdivided into elements and compounds. And mixtures are again classified as homogeneous mixtures and heterogeneous mixtures. Let's see to it in detail. So, a pure substance is a substance that have a fixed composition and they cannot be separated by simple physical methods. That is the characteristic of a pure substance. So, for example, we can see silver, then gold or gold, copper, water, etc. Here you can see, for example, water or glucose. So, here we can take the example of water. You can see water consists of two types of elements, that is hydrogen and oxygen, but it is in a fixed ratio. Two hydrogen atoms and one oxygen atom makes water. If there is any change in that ratio, it will not be water. So, elements can be any type of matter, but it should have a fixed composition. It should have a fixed ratio, composition of atoms in it. If two hydrogen and one oxygen makes water, if it is two hydrogen and two oxygen, it will become hydrogen peroxide. It will never be water. So, it should have it. If a substance to be a pure substance, the first thing mandatory is it should have a fixed composition. And another thing, it cannot be separated by simple physical means. Like you cannot separate silver, gold, copper or water by using simple physical methods. For example, simply you can take water. Water you cannot separate. Water is formed by the combination of hydrogen and oxygen. But this hydrogen and oxygen you cannot separate from water by simple physical methods. But you have to use some chemical means for the separation of water. In short, the characteristics of a pure substance can be written as: a pure substance cannot be separated into simpler substances by physical methods. A pure substance should have fixed composition. And a pure substance can be expressed with a chemical formula. For example, a water molecule can be expressed as H2O, a sodium chloride molecule can be expressed as NaCl, and hydrogen atom can be expressed with the symbol H. And then these pure substances are further we can, in a detailed way, we can separate it as elements and compounds. So we will see what are elements and compounds. So both elements and compounds are coming under the category of pure substances. Both elements and compounds are pure substances. So what is the difference between these elements and compounds? Elements consist of only one type of particles. See here example: sodium, silver, hydrogen, oxygen. If it is oxygen molecule or oxygen atom, it can be atoms or molecules. Whatever it may be, it should contain only one type of particles. If it is oxygen molecule, it can be considered as an element, but it is containing only oxygen. Only the element oxygen it is containing. So, elements are consist of only one type of particles. It should not have different types of particles. It should have only one type of particles. If sodium is containing only sodium atoms. Element sodium is containing only one type of particle, that is sodium. So, element consists of only one type of particles, and these particles may be atoms or molecules. In the case of diatomic molecules, you know that only one type of particles present in that. And then compound. What makes a substance compound? When two or more atoms of different elements combine, the molecule of a compound is formed. For example, when you see the example, it will be clear for you. For example, water, ammonia, carbon dioxide, etc. You know that water is formed by two different elements. See, when two or more atoms of different elements, here two hydrogen atoms and one oxygen atom. So, two different elements combined in a ratio 2:1. So, you know that to be a pure substance, it should have a fixed ratio. Yeah, it's having a fixed ratio, that is 2 hydrogen and 1 oxygen. Yet, it is containing different type of atoms. See, 2 or more atoms of different elements. So, oxygen is one element and hydrogen is another element. So, different elements, 2 or more atoms of different elements combined. So, we call it as a compound. And it comes under the category of a pure substance because it is having a fixed ratio of composition. Now, ammonia also having is also a composition of two different elements, nitrogen and hydrogen. Here, carbon dioxide also is a compound of two different elements formed by the combination of atoms or molecules of two different elements. So, it is combined by carbon and oxygen. If we look more into the properties of compounds, the properties of compounds are different from those of its constituent elements. The properties of compounds are different from those of its constituent elements. How come? You can see the example of water. Water is a compound and you know that it is made up of hydrogen and oxygen. And you know that hydrogen is good in burning. That means it burns with a pop sound. And oxygen also a supporter of combustion. It helps in combustion. That means both promote burning. That those constituent elements of this particular compound water, both the elements are promoters of burning or combustion. But when you see the characteristic of this particular compound as a compound, water helps in extinguishing fire. That means these properties of compound will not be same as that of its constituent elements. Constituent elements can have just opposite characters of a compound. When we take the example of water, you know that water helps to extinguish fire. Then at the same time, the constituent elements of water, hydrogen and oxygen, promotes combustion. Okay? Or hydrogen burns with a pop sound, easily it burns, and oxygen supports combustion. So you know that its properties are quite different from compound and its constituent elements. And then constituents of a compound cannot be separated by physical methods, but they can only be separated by chemical means. By looking into water, as we have told earlier, water cannot be separated easily by any of the physical methods, but it can only be separated into hydrogen and oxygen by electrolysis, any of the chemical methods. So we can sum up the characteristics of a compound like this. Its constituent elements are not easily separated by physical means. A compound has properties quite different from the elements it is formed from. The formula of a compound summarizes the whole number atomic ratio of what it is made up of. Example, methane, CH4, is composed of one carbon atom combined with 4 hydrogen atoms. This you will be studying in detail later. The word formula also applies to elements. Example, hydrogen molecule has the formula H2. Ozone, the formula of ozone is O3, etc. Another classification of matter, that is mixtures. What are mixtures? A mixture contains two or more substances present in it in any ratio. That is important. It does not have a fixed ratio. It does not have a fixed percentage of composition. In any ratio, its constituents can be present in it. So, in that case, we call that particular matter as mixture. For example, sugar solution, air, etc. Sugar solution. You can take 1 tablespoon of sugar and make 1 liter of sugar solution or 2 liters of sugar solution. Still, it is a sugar solution, but its percentage of composition is different. You can make a sugar solution by taking any amount of sugar and taking any amount of water. So it is not fixed. The ratio of constituents that are present in it is not fixed. It can be flexible. So that type of matter we call it as mixtures. In the case of air also it is same. The air, the ingredients of the air, the constituents present in the air can be different from place to place according to the amount of pollution and so on. But still it is air, and so air is considered as a mixture. So now we shall summarize the characteristics of mixtures. Mixtures have a variable composition. The components of a mixture retain their characteristic properties. A mixture can be separated into pure substances by physical methods. Mixtures of different compositions may have widely different properties. And these mixtures can be separated or categorized or classified again as homogeneous mixtures and heterogeneous mixtures. When we look into homogeneous mixtures in a detailed way, what is a homogeneous mixture? The components completely mix with each other and its composition is uniform throughout. When we think about a homogeneous mixture, its components are completely mixed with each other and its composition is uniform throughout. For example, air, sugar solution, etc. If you make a sugar solution, you cannot taste or you cannot identify where the sugar solution or where the water solution. It is not separate. It is inseparable. You cannot separate it and see. You cannot separate it and taste. Inseparable doesn't mean the process of separation, but its taste or its properties are uniform all throughout. And then you just see air. In the case of air also it's same. You know that air contains oxygen, hydrogen, nitrogen, etc. But you cannot see it separately. You cannot feel it separately. So air is also considered as a homogeneous mixture. And then what is a heterogeneous mixture? In a heterogeneous mixture, the composition is not uniform throughout and sometimes different components can be observed. What is present in its constituents are not uniform throughout. Some constituents may be more or less, and it can even visible as separate components. For example, mixture of grains and pulses, what you get from shop, the mixture of grains and pulses when you buy, you can see it separate. If it is contaminated, or in some cases when we buy grains itself, if it is having some kind of impurities as dirt or some small kinds of stones, you used to take away that stones before cooking. You used to take away that stones because it is just seen as it is. So that kind of a mixture is known as a heterogeneous mixture. And what is the speciality of a mixture other than pure substances? Here the components of mixture can be separated by physical methods. It doesn't need a chemical method to separate it. Just by taking it away by hands, hand picking, or filtration by filtering it, or by crystallization, etc. By all those physical methods, you can separate the constituents or the components of the mixture. So that's all about today's session. Thank you. See you again.